It is Game 3 of the American League Championship Series between the Astros and the New York Yankees. They're back in the Bronx, and the Yankees are turning to Garrett Cole to try and avoid the dreaded 3-0 deficit. How would it shake out? My recap, your reactions coming up next. This is Yankees Game Night. Officially made the switch from water to Jack Daniels. Green apple Jack Daniels, but Jack Daniels nonetheless. My brother Kevin, who helped get me started with baseball. You know, I used to go to bed. My bedtime was, I believe, 9 o'clock, and that would usually be about the 7th or 8th inning. He would let me sneak down and listen to the end of the games in his room. And he's gotten to this point in his life where, you know, he doesn't watch baseball as much as he used to, but when he does, the Yankees typically tend to play bad. And he sends me these succinct little text messages, 1 or 2 lines, and I call them Kevin caps. And tonight he sent me this one. Clean house, let the kids play. And I gotta say,
I wholeheartedly agree.
J. Moss getting the line of the night early. Says we are up 3-0 in exit velocity. Round of applause for the exit velocity. I gotta say, I had a very specific feeling tonight that I can only describe as imminent and impending doom. And it's a very specific feeling. It took me back to a very specific time in my life. And this is kind of a long denouement, so stick with me for a second. I was on a cruise once. And this cruise, one of the stops was in the Bahamas. And after the ship dropped anchor and the cruise ship passengers had the option to get off and explore the Bahamas, my wife and I got off and did a little shopping. So we end up in this little shop where they sell these beautiful pieces of handmade Jamaican art or Bahamian art, Caribbean art, like vases, sculptures, ashtrays, bongs, whatever else. And while we're in there browsing, another family walked in with a couple of rambunctious kids, and they were hitting each other with these foam swords and screaming and generally being walking, talking advertisements for birth control. Anyway, I noticed, but I didn't think much of it. I mean, you see crazy kids everywhere. A couple minutes later, I'm staring at this beautiful piece of artwork. It's this porcelain Day of the Dead skull painted with all these beautiful colors, handcrafted, even had this little card with the name of the artist who designed it underneath. And as I'm taking in this beauty, this beautiful, magnificent piece of art that somebody spent countless hours putting together, I felt a blow to my back. And one of those kids, oblivious to my presence, had slammed right into me, and I went careening into this little stand that the painted skull was sitting on top of, and I could see the thing rocking back and forth, wobbling back and forth. I saw gravity beginning to take hold of this porcelain skull, and there was this instant where I could see into the future. I knew because of my knowledge of gravity and the hardness of surfaces compared to this porcelain skull that it wasn't going to end well for the skull. And that's exactly what happened. But in that split second before disaster, before the thing went careening to the floor, I contend I was fully aware as I've ever been. Time slowed down and I could see the chain of events that were about to happen. And I was powerless to stop it. I got that same sensation tonight when McCormick hit that fly ball to right field, and you see Judge set up to play the carom, and then you see the ball hit the top of the wall and bounce towards the seats. I knew the game was over right then. And at that moment, I don't know why, the second that ball hit the fans, in my mind, that porcelain skull shattered on the floor. And it was a bad feeling, man. Bad feeling. YouTube commenter says, I know everyone's going to complain about the lack of hitting, but Boone was horrible again. Interesting lineup tonight. Peraza was out of the lineup after playing so well at shortstop. And Matt Carpenter was in there at DH. Giancarlo in left. Ike Half was out. We had Rizzo leading off. Gleyber Torres, who's not hitting anything, he was in the cleanup spot. Odd lineup. And look, Garrett Cole came out throwing the ball well. First inning, he had some of the best stuff we've seen from him all year, especially the knuckle curve. Top two, though, he got 2 quick outs, and then Harrison Bader dropped a fly ball in center field. Should have been the third out, should have caught it. He had 2 hands, and he did everything right. Judge just, kind of crossed in front of him, and he lost sight of the ball for a second, and so he had to kind of time it in a split second, and it bounced out of his glove. And you knew that that was a bad omen because this guy's not supposed to drop fly balls. And it ended up being a humongous play. Next batter was McCormick. He hit a 2-run home run. It wasn't a blast. It hit the top of the wall. Don't even know what the exit velocity was. Doesn't matter. The runs don't officially count as earned runs. Doesn't matter. But somehow I knew it was going to happen. And I somehow knew once it did happen that the Yankees weren't going to be able to come back from it. How many times have we seen it this year? Something goes wrong for Garrett Cole, and the worst possible outcome follows. Billy Crystal takes too long to warm up or to throw out the first pitch. Cole loses his mind over it and gives up 3 runs in opening day in the first inning. You get a little bit of rain, home run. Gust of wind, home run. Now, maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. But you got to pick up your teammate right there and get the out. And just one more thing on that sequence of events. Look, it was bad luck. Bader's not supposed to drop that ball. But you've got to find a way to overcome it. You have got to find a way to get beyond it and to get off the mat. And this team couldn't do that tonight. Christian Javier, who was the starting pitcher for the Astros, starting pitcher during that no-hitter earlier this summer, and he held the Yankees hitless through 3 1/3 before Giancarlo Stanton picked up an opposite field double. He smoked it. A lot of pop-ups tonight. Again, everybody trying to hit the home run on every pitch. I'm pretty sick of watching that. Bottom 5, Harrison Bader walked to lead off the inning, but got thrown out trying to steal second base. He had a tough night. He had a real tough night. Bottom 6, Cole loaded the bases with nobody out and exited the game after 96 pitches. Trevino came in and gave up a sac fly to make it 3-0, and then a 2-run single to make it 5-0. That closed the book on Garrett Cole. Final line, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 runs in total, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Stuff was good, but you don't get graded on stuff. You get graded on, did your team win or not? If he had given up 1, it would have been too many today because the Yankees offense just didn't have it. Bottom 7, perfect example of what's wrong with this entire organization's offensive philosophy and why I think Brian Cashman and the rest of his cronies need to be out on their ass this winter. Gleyber Torres is up to bat. Yanks are down 5-0. Nobody out, nobody on base, and Gleyber Torres is swinging out of his shoes to try and hit a home run. Falling over, running towards first base, towards the dugout, because he's so out of balance. Trying to hit a home run. 5-0. Nobody on base. You're leading off the inning. Home run does nothing for you other than get you within grand slam distance. And you're hitting against one of the best relievers in baseball. You really think you're going to get 5 home runs in the inning? You need a rally. You should be trying to work a walk. Foul shit off until he walks you or you pick up a duck snort base hit. Have a competitive at bat. Don't just go up there trying to hit home runs. He did it again in the 9th inning. Home run does nothing for you there. And the reason he does it is because this organization has taught him, since he's been here, that home runs win ball games. It's true. Home runs do win ball games, but solo home runs don't win ball games. You've got to have people on base. 3-run home runs help win you ball games. But when you get to the postseason, that shit doesn't happen every day. The offensive philosophy in this organization is flawed. They've built everything from the ground up around a flawed philosophy of hit as many home runs as you can. What they need to do next year, I'm going to give them, the front office, this is a free consultation. I won't even charge for it. Use your little computers, your analytics, to reduce the number of home runs you hit. Reduce the number of home runs you hit, but increase the number of runs you would potentially score. See if you can get 900 runs on 200 home runs. Guarantee you it will be a more effective lineup. Guarantee you. Yanks did get back-to-back walks to lead off the 8th inning, but Judge bounced out to third base to end the threat. Boos were coming down. And look, I don't know if I would boo Judge. I wouldn't boo Judge personally, but I don't have the right to tell fans who paid good money what to do with their own voice. You're welcome to boo Judge. I don't think you should do it. Because without him, Yankees don't even get here. And believe me, you don't want that to be his last memory before free agency. If it comes down to Dodgers or Yankees offering the same amount, where do you think he's going to go? Probably wouldn't go to the place that booed him during the playoffs for having the audacity to make an out. Astros hang on to win. Yankees get 3 hits. And the Astros take a 3-0 series lead. Okay, I've got a lot of super donos. I'm going to go through those first. I'm going to try and go through them one at a time. And then I'll skip down and take all of your real-time comments. Squint Eastwood says we have 162 games and 1 playoff series, and Boone still can't figure out what this team looks like. Man should never be allowed to step foot on a baseball field again. Dr. Hitskin says, very poetic. It's like watching the Titanic sinking. I felt like we should have had the band playing Nearer My God to Thee on top of the dugout. Don't you think we should have had that? Appreciate the dono from Eddie Fox. And if you're not unfamiliar with it, as the Titanic was sinking, the band played songs on the, it wasn't like a jazz band. They weren't singing. I don't think jazz had been invented yet. They were playing orchestra, and they played a song called Nearer My God to Thee, which is like a maritime song, as the ship was sinking. So that's kind of, what I felt. That was the mood tonight. It's been a tough day. Super chat from Sam says, if we cannot envision the Yankees rebuild with a younger core that isn't driven by the home run ball and not have Judge on the roster for the sake of having a great player, it takes 9 guys to win, especially in the postseason. Appreciate the big dono there.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was it's an organizational philosophy, I think, that's flawed here. The Earl of Demise with the big dono. Appreciate that. Earl's been coming through in the clutch all year. Says, let Judge walk. No need to tie up the payroll with another huge contract for a guy that doesn't show up in the postseason. Well, he does have 4 career home runs in elimination games, and that's the most in Major League Baseball history. He played well in most of his postseasons. And look, he's so good that you're going to pitch him carefully. And when you got the best pitchers in the league pitching you as carefully as possible and nobody around you is hitting, it's really tough to be successful. I'm going to give Judge a little bit of slack. Brandon McCollum says 41 Ks in 3 days.
Oh my gosh. Does that suck?
And Matt Zimmerman says it's home run or bust for this team, and we need to get away from that. I wholeheartedly agree. Couple more super donos coming in from XYZ Inc. Plays says, we need someone old school. Boone is a regular season manager, doesn't know what to do against good teams. It starts from the top down. YouTube commenter says, do you pull Cole, and why doesn't the hitting adapt to the situation? I would not have pulled Cole right there. It actually surprised me. I thought maybe he was hurt. When he started to walk out of the dugout, it looked like he mouthed, "Are you all right?" which concerned me at first. Garrett Cole looks surprised to be coming out. Bases loaded, nobody out though. In such a crucial game, you can't afford a grand slam right there. If he had left Garrett Cole in, we'd be eating him alive if the Astros had put up a big crooked number there. We would be eating him alive. I think Boone did what he had to do to try and, win the moment. He was trying to get a ground ball or a pop-up, maybe a strikeout. I mean, if you're going to go for the strikeout, I think you stick with Garrett Cole. I think he can strike anybody out with 96 pitches. You got another good 20 pitches left in the tank. But he must have just liked the matchup better. But that was probably Garrett Cole's last time pitching this season. Ben Green says, Boone's press conference this morning, he was not wearing an NYY cap. He was wearing a golf course cap. Probably coming back from the golf course, honestly, or getting paid by a golf course to wear that. You don't have to wear the official team hat when you're not, on the field. We see that all the time. I wouldn't be concerned about that. Madik says, Astros are built to win championships. Yankees are built to hit home runs and put butts in seats during the regular season. The postseason is just a bonus to the front office. Well said. Appreciate the dono. Darren says, it's about the pitching. Well, tonight, yeah, we had some trouble. We gave up 5 runs, but the pitching has been pretty good in this series, honestly. The hitting has been awful, just absolutely awful. 41 strikeouts in 3 games. That's all you need to say. No runs in Game 3, a crucial game at home. If it weren't for the 2 errors actually by Valdez in Game 2, the Yankees would have been shut out in back-to-back games. And this is a team that no-hit you during the regular season. Ian L. says, home runs are okay, but you need some base hits, doubles, and stolen bases between them. D. Knight, getting on Judge's case, says, Judge reminds me of Barry Bonds, great during the regular season and a 0 in the postseason. Again, I think you guys might be being a little tough on Aaron Judge. I know he's struggled in this series, but he did have 2 home runs in the 5-game ALDS. He's done pretty well with power during his postseason career. I think coming into tonight's game, I read a stat that he was on a 50 home run for 162 game pace in his career for the postseason. The average drops during the postseason, but that's to be expected. Everybody's average drops. What is Altuve hitting right now? You're facing the best of the best, and they're trying to shut you down. I just realized that my call-in thing says postseason preview show, so just ignore that. But you can call into the voicemail. We're going to have a couple of postseason videos where we take calls and things like that, so feel free to call in. Spencer says, this is all because we traded Gallo.
Excellent.
Oh, that's a top-tier comment. That's an S-tier comment. All right. Yankees fan, but Nestor is king, says Javier owns us. I think that's fair to say. This Yankees lineup just does not match up well against him. Roberto says, Yankees acting like they play in the Hamptons versus the Bronx. They do seem kind of soft and rich, don't they? Not to imply that soft people are rich, but I'm sure there's some hardcore rich people out there. But, you don't think of somebody from the Hamptons as being, somebody that wants to fight, that wants to brawl, right? It's like they called it a lawyer. All right. J. Moss says, pitching. Game was over at 2-0. Difference is hitting, and that I agree with.
I wholeheartedly agree.
100% agree. I blame it on the hitting. And Dion says it's been about the lack of hitting most of the year. This team led the league in home runs. I don't know how many years in a row now they've been in the top 1 or 2 of home runs. If winning via the home run was really a thing, the Yankees would have won more. They hit home runs every year. They're the Bronx Bombers. How about, this is just one guy in his living room talking here to some internet people who may or may not be in the front office of Major League Baseball teams. We're just a bunch of people having a discussion here. I'm just suggesting maybe we try and pick up more guys who can actually hit, who can do more than just hit home runs. You know, I don't care how hard you hit it. I care how often you hit it. Joey Gallo has great exit velocity, but it doesn't take into account that he hardly ever has exit velocity because he misses so much. Andrew Calabria says it can't end like this. Let me tell you, as somebody who watched the 2004 Yankees blow 4 in a row in the ALCS, it can end in a whimper. It really can. Game 7 of that ALCS, the Yankees got dragged all over the ballpark. I think the Red Sox were up 7-0 after 2 innings. It was awful, and it was as lifeless as you could imagine. Lori C says, the weather is terrible for tomorrow night, probably a rain out. Celebrate, don't have to watch. Kenyon says, just depressed these days. I'm with you. Misery loves company. That's why we have 1,400 people in the chat, which is a new NYY Recaps record.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Eddie's FSX says, the Guardians deserve to be in the ALCS, not us. At least they showed some fight. We're not competitive. Even the NLCS is more competitive and fun to watch. I got to agree about the NLCS. Those have been some great games. I mean, if you're not watching the Phillies and the Padres, what are you doing? I mean, that is great baseball they're playing over there. And look, Harper versus Machado, 2 guys that the Yankees could have gotten. They could have signed a check and had either one of them. And they're both hitting the hell out of the baseball. Bryce Harper, I always felt like Bryce Harper was a perfect fit for Yankee Stadium. We've talked about this a few times, but since we have a big audience tonight, I'll just kind of give you my feelings on Bryce Harper. You know, he was younger than most free agents that the Yankees have a chance to sign. I think he was about 25 or 26 at the time he was a free agent. Maybe even younger. He came up at 19. I think he was about 25. And the man has about an 850 OPS floor. This is a guy who's had the spotlight on him forever. They said, oh, he won't adjust to New York. BS. This kid was on Sports Illustrated's cover when he was 16. He had everybody covering him. He dropped out of high school to play in college baseball against guys that were older than him because he wanted the challenge. This is a guy who's not going to back down to a fight, and you're seeing that every time he plays in the postseason. He frickin' rakes because his heartbeat slows down. The man, he would have been perfect. Big left-handed bat, just unbelievable. Colin Brown says, forgive me for everything I tweeted. My penance was, I don't even know what you tweeted. I hardly ever read my tweets. I'm one of those hit and run tweeters. I'll tweet something, sitting on the toilet, close the phone, and won't look at it till the next day. So let's see here. DC says, biggest mismatch in recent memory. You're not wrong. This team is going down without much of a fight. Let's see here. We're talking about bonds in the chat a lot. There's some debate going on. Rather than put up one specific comment, I'll give you some context. There's a lot of debate as to whether or not Barry Bonds was actually a good postseason player. And for the first part of his career, he really wasn't. He really did struggle a lot in the postseason. But 2002, I think it was, when the Angels and the Giants squared off in the World Series, he had a really good postseason and a really good World Series. I remember he hit a ball off of Francisco Rodriguez that gravity barely kept on this planet. I think he maybe had 8 home runs that postseason. But again, that was after the steroids. So, I mean, just, think of that the same way you think of anything with Barry Bonds. What's the real Barry Bonds? I'll tell you this. Before Barry Bonds started taking steroids, or I don't know when he started taking steroids, but before he got humongous, before the 98, 99, 2000 years, he was an unbelievable player. He was in the postseason a couple of times with the Pirates, I believe. Didn't do much. But during the regular season, I think he was already a 2 or 3-time MVP. He was clutch. He choked up on the bat, which is something I really liked as a hitter because it gives you good bat barrel control, right? And he always said that all he wanted to do was catch the ball, right? He's just trying to barrel it up, and he wasn't trying to kill it. But as he got stronger and bigger and humongous, just doing that had more of an effect, right? So there was a great comparison after Judge hit 62 home runs. I think it was on MLB Network where they were comparing Barry Bonds' swing to Aaron Judge's swing. And what they did was they flip-flopped the camera, on Aaron Judge's swing. They reversed it so it looked like he was swinging lefty, and it looked almost identical to Barry Bonds' swing. Teddy, says, Cole just said that he had more in the tank. Doesn't surprise me. I would have left him in there. Kian Patel says, it's Marcus Timms' fault. Marcus Timms, the ex-Yankees hitting coach who was fired unceremoniously after the season. Dylan Lawson, the new hitting coach. It'll be interesting to see, if the Yankees stick with him. Look, I think the Yankees did barrel a lot of balls this year, right? I think there's something to his hitting philosophy of recognizing pitches early. But I just want a more diverse lineup. And we've said it before, Benintendi and DJ being out really affects this lineup. It messes with the whole way that everything is constructed. But, that's baseball. You should be able to have some depth. That's the problem with having too many of the same type of players, too many home run hitters. Really, ideally, you'd like about 3 guys on your team that can hit 30-plus home runs. And then you want about 4 guys who hit, 280, 290 with 20 to 25 home runs. And then if you ideally can, you want 1 or 2 guys who are really high contact hitters. And it doesn't matter if they hit, 10 or 12 home runs. You want a little bit of power, more than IKF gives you. If IKF, if he hits 20 points higher next year, 290, and can hit 6 or 7 more home runs, give you 290 with 10 home runs, that's not bad. But I also don't think he's going to get that many chances next year because I think the Yankees are going to move on. I do think it's interesting that they moved away from Peraza after just 1 game. Didn't really give him much of a chance, but then again, the offense was cold. It's been a while since he's really faced live action. Jonathan Alvarez says what I think we all were thinking years ago, that Harper is made for Yankee Stadium. PXNA says Boone looking like he knows he's about to get fired on the post game. All right, guys, I got to see this. I appreciate it. It's been a tough day for me. My cat Joba, some of you saw him on the post game a few times. He passed away this morning, so tough day. I'm going to call it a night. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.